around. This world is loud, crowded, distracted, and still dominated by a very small number of people. That is not an accident. The difference is not talent. The difference is not luck. The difference is not intelligence. The difference is who is willing to endure what others refuse. You were not born to blend in. You were not built to scroll your life away. You were not meant to live exhausted from doing nothing meaningful. Yet here you are, not because you can't rise, but because you hesitate. And hesitation is the language of the defeated. Everyone talks about dreams. Everyone talks about goals. Everyone talks about one day. But the world does not move for words. It moves for pressure, for consistency, for people who show up even when motivation disappears. You don't need to feel inspired. You need to be inevitable. Right now, your life reflects your standards, not your intentions. And if that makes you uncomfortable, good. Discomfort is truth arriving uninvited. You've been taught to wait. Wait for confidence. Wait for clarity. Wait for the right moment. Let me tell you something reality never hides. Confidence is built after action. Clarity comes after movement. And the right moment only appears for those already in motion. If you wait to feel ready, you will die waiting. The world belongs to those who move first and adjust later. You say you're tired. Of course you are. You waste energy everywhere except where it matters. Discipline gives energy. Structure gives freedom. Purpose sharpens the mind. Chaos drains you. Comfort weakens you. Distraction keeps you small. You don't need more rest. You need more direction. Let's talk about pain. Pain is not your enemy. Pain is information. It tells you where you're unprepared, where you're soft, where you've been avoiding growth. Weak people run from pain. Strong people study it. Dominant people use it. Every rep you skip, every hard task you avoid, every standard you lower, you are training yourself to lose. You want respect. Respect is not given to the nicest voice in the room. It's given to the one who cannot be ignored. Respect comes from results, from consistency, from presence. When you walk into a room, nothing changes, and that's the problem. Power isn't loud. Power is undeniable. You compare yourself to others and feel behind. Good. That awareness is a weapon, if you use it. Envy without action becomes bitterness. Envy with discipline becomes fuel. Stop asking why they're ahead. Start asking what you're avoiding. Because the answer is always the same. Discomfort. You fear judgment, but you already judge yourself every night. You fear failure, but staying the same is the real failure. You fear standing alone, but the path to power has always been lonely. Isolation is not weakness, it is preparation. Let's be honest, you already know what to do. You don't lack information, you lack enforcement. You don't need another video, another quote, another burst of motivation. You need standards so high that excuses suffocate under them. Balance is not for beginners. Balance is for those who have already built something worth protecting. At your stage, Obsession is required. Relentless focus, aggressive discipline, unapologetic consistency. You don't become exceptional by being reasonable. Every day you delay, someone else advances, not because they're better, but because they act. Momentum is ruthless. It either carries you forward or runs you over. There is no neutral. Understand this clearly. The world does not care how hard it feels. It does not care how unfair it seems. It does not care how much potential you had. It only responds to what you do repeatedly. Execution turns effort into power. Consistency turns power into dominance. This is the moment where most people feel something and then do nothing. Don't be most people. Take the pressure. Take the responsibility. Take control. Become the version of yourself that no longer needs motivation because discipline has taken its place. Decide, not emotionally, not dramatically. Decide through action. Let today be the day excuses lost their authority. Let today be the day comfort stopped deciding your future. The world will not wait for you, so move and make it bend. There will be days when nothing moves. No progress, no validation, no visible reward. This is where most people disappear. Not because they failed, but because they weren't praised. Understand this. Silence is not rejection. Silence is a test. The world watches who continues without applause. Consistency is brutal because it exposes intention. Anyone can go hard once. Anyone can feel inspired for a week. But showing up when it's boring, when it's repetitive, when it feels pointless, that is where power is separated from performance. You don't need intensity. You need inevitability. Your environment is either sharpening you or dulling you. Look around. If comfort surrounds you, weakness is being normalized. If everyone agrees with you, you're not being challenged. If your lifestyle makes discipline optional, decline is guaranteed. Strong people design their environment. Weak people adapt to it. Decide which one you are. You will outgrow people, not because you're better, but because you refused to stay the same. They will call you distant, obsessed, changed. Good. Growth always looks like arrogance to those who never evolved. Do not explain yourself. Results speak fluently. There will be moments when quitting feels logical, when slowing down feels reasonable, when settling feels justified. That's when identity is decided. Because discipline is not built in comfort, it's built in resistance. You don't rise to your goals, you fall to your standards. Raise them. You are not late. You are being prepared. Every delay, every setback, every moment of frustration is forcing you to become stronger than you planned. The world does not hand power to the untested. Pressure is proof you're being shaped. Stop romanticizing easy success. Anything gained without struggle cannot be defended. Strength that hasn't been earned collapses under stress. That's why this feels heavy. You are being trained to carry weight, not just reach heights. Your past mistakes are not holding you back. Your attachment to them is. Regret is only useful if it sharpens your decisions. Otherwise, it's just another distraction. Let it go and move forward with precision. You don't need to prove anything to anyone, but you owe everything to yourself. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you regain authority. Every time you follow through, you rebuild trust with yourself. And self-trust is dangerous. Momentum is built quietly. No announcements, no countdowns, no validation. Just repetition. Day after day, action after action. Until effort becomes identity. One day, without warning, things will shift. Not because luck arrived, but because you became unavoidable. And those who doubted you won't understand when it happened. They never see the work. They only see the outcome. So keep going. When it's quiet, when it's heavy, when it feels slow. That's where dominance is forged. The world does not reward potential. It bows to execution. And you are not done yet. Eventually, something changes inside you. Not motivation, not excitement. Silence. A calm that replaces urgency. A focus that doesn't shake. A certainty that no longer needs proof. This is when you stop chasing results and start expecting them. You no longer ask if it's worth it. You already know, because the pain of discipline has become familiar, and the pain of regret has become unacceptable. You've crossed the point where quitting feels unnatural. That's power. Your standards rise quietly. What once felt impossible now feels non-negotiable. What once exhausted you now feels like baseline effort. This is how dominance actually forms, not in explosions, but in elevation. You stop reacting to opinions, to noise, to distractions. Reaction is weakness pretending to be awareness. Control comes from choosing what deserves your attention and starving everything else. People will mistake your focus for coldness. Let them. You didn't come this far to be understood. You came to be effective. Empires aren't built by explaining every move. They're built by making them. Pressure no longer scares you. You've lived under it long enough to recognize its pattern. Pressure either crushes or clarifies, and you've been clarified. You stop chasing comfort. Comfort makes promises it can't keep. It tells you rest will fix what discipline was meant to solve. You know better now. Your identity shifts. You don't try anymore. You do. You don't wait for motivation. You move without it. You don't hope things work out. You make sure they do. This is the moment most people never reach, where effort stops feeling heroic and starts feeling mandatory, where work becomes quiet, heavy, inevitable, where excuses sound foreign. You've learned something most never will. Discipline is freedom. Structure is power. Consistency is dominance in disguise. The world hasn't changed. You have. And now there's no need to rush, no need to prove, no need to announce. You're moving and the world will adjust accordingly, because it always does. It always bows to execution. At this stage, something dangerous happens. You stop needing reassurance. You stop needing reminders. You stop needing anyone to believe in you, because belief has been replaced by proof. Quiet, internal, unshakable. You're no longer fueled by emotion. You're fueled by certainty. You begin to notice how fragile most people are, how easily distracted, how quickly discouraged, how dependent they are on motivation. Not with arrogance, with clarity. You see now why so few rise. The work never stopped being heavy. They just stopped carrying it. You don't argue anymore. Debate is for those unsure of their position. You move, you build, you apply pressure. Results end conversations faster than words ever could. Time starts behaving differently around you. Days feel intentional, hours feel sharp. Wasted time becomes unbearable. Not because you're busy, but because you're precise. Your confidence doesn't spike, it stabilizes. No highs, no crashes, just control. That's when others feel it. They can't explain it, but they sense it. Presence speaks before words. You don't rush success. You understand its weight now. Anything that comes too early collapses under pressure. So you let yourself be forged properly, layer by layer, day by day. There's no hatred in you, no resentment, just direction. Anger was useful once, but precision is stronger. You don't burn anymore. You cut. The world starts responding differently. Opportunities align. Resistance thins. Obstacles hesitate. Not because reality changed, but because you did. Strength bends environments. You understand now. This was never about motivation, never about hype, never about inspiration. It was about becoming someone who does not stop. Someone who continues when it's dull, when it's heavy, when no one is watching. And from here on, it's simple, not easy, simple. You do the work, you raise the standard, you repeat again and again and again, until effort is no longer noticed, only impact. You're no longer chasing the future, you're constructing it. And eventually, inevitably, the world recognizes what cannot be denied. It always does. Because the world does not reward potential, it bows to execution. At some point, effort stops feeling heavy, not because it became easier, but because weakness was removed. You no longer fight yourself to begin. You no longer negotiate with resistance. Action happens automatically. That's when you realize this is who you are now. You stop measuring progress emotionally. No excitement, no disappointment, just data. What worked, what didn't, what improves tomorrow. Emotion clouds judgment. Precision sharpens it. And you've chosen precision. You become hard to distract. Noise loses its grip. Trends pass unnoticed. Opinions fall flat. Not because you're ignorant, but because your direction is set. A focused mind is a dangerous weapon. People start asking how you changed. You don't have an answer they want to hear. There was no secret, no shortcut, no moment of revelation. just standards enforced daily, relentlessly. You don't feel superior, you feel responsible. Because once you know what discipline can build, there's no excuse for returning to weakness. Ignorance ends, accountability begins. Pressure still exists, it just no longer surprises you. You've trained under it long enough to recognize its rhythm. Pressure doesn't mean stop, it means adapt. Your patience deepens. You're no longer rushed by urgency. You understand timing now. Rushed foundations collapse. Built foundations endure. So you build carefully, but without pause. You don't celebrate prematurely. Celebration weakens vigilance. You stay sharp. You stay alert. Because dominance isn't achieved once, it's maintained. Others will call this extreme. They always do. Anything beyond average feels threatening. To those committed to comfort, let them label it however they want. Labels don't change outcomes. What you've built inside yourself can't be taken. Not by failure, not by loss, not by silence. Because execution isn't something you do anymore. It's something you are. And from here forward, the path is clear. No confusion, no searching, just movement. Relentless, controlled, deliberate. You don't need the world to understand. You only need it to respond. And it will. It always does. Because in the end, without exception, the world does not reward potential. It bows to execution.